I haven't either, and so I need to follow up, and we need that really to be the base.
Well, I would have preferred to have received it by now.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it a little bit.
Forgive me, I should have
No,
caught
no,
that.
that's not.
No, I wish I could have caught it.
Oh.
Okay, we're on.
All right, well, I guess we are.
You guys are just saying.
Well, good evening, everybody.
Oh, I see.
Thank you for joining us for tonight's meeting of the Community Engagement Committee of the Human Rights Commission for the City of Salem. Let's go ahead and do some introductions, as is our tradition, our custom. Robert, do you want to get us started?
Yes, my name is Robert Marshall. I'm a commissioner on the Human Rights Commission and a member of this committee. I will pass it off to Alana.
Hi there, I'm Ilana Lynn. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a commissioner and a member of the subcommittee.
My name is Joaquin, and I chair this committee, and I'm a member of the broader commission.
And my name is Gretchen Bennett. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the staff liaison to the Human Rights Commission.
Thank you all for being here, and to those who aren't and are at the Revenue Task Force, good luck. Hopefully, mercifully, this will be a short meeting tonight. Did we receive any public comment, Gretchen?
None received.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes from May?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from May's meeting as presented.
I second.
Great. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty, thank you. All right, community belonging survey. Hello, welcome. Community belonging survey. Timeline, council presentation. Do you want to? We're just getting started. It's going to be a short meeting, I think. So, what do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Celine.
All right, thank you for doing this. Our soon-to-be member of this committee. All right, so we received a wonderful presentation from Western Oregon. Was it earlier this month or last month?
Earlier this month.
Thank you. And we're kind of guessing that we have as yet not received the full report, which makes talking about it difficult. But I think the intention is for the commission to present a brief overview, meaning no recommendations as yet, but an overview of the data in July, and that is for when?
Yeah, that's correct, Joaquin. That would be the city council meeting in July, which is July 22nd. July 22nd. Yeah, and we have up to 10 minutes, and we can present information and then be available to questions as well. Yeah.
So, absent the full report, I would like this to be as robust a conversation as possible. So I'd like to hear from folks around things generally they'd like to see in this informational presentation to council. Again, foregoing specifics because we don't have them at this moment, but we'll have the opportunity to talk about it at the full commission meeting, I hope. Not next week?
Not next week. That's it's a little tight of a turn because the commission will meet the second Wednesday in July, and then the council meeting is
4 days later.
No, we should have a little more than a week.
So we're gonna meet the third week of July?
We're gonna meet July 10th as a commission, and then present to the council on July 22nd.
So we'll have
Yeah, we won't have another meeting of this group.
Yeah, that's okay.
So this group can provide broad, like maybe a structure.
Yeah.
And then we'll fill in maybe with a commission.
So that's my ambition for the next 15, 20 minutes or whatever, however long it takes to figure out in 10 minutes, what are the things we like to communicate to our elected leaders? So I'll open it up for discussion.
Cool. I mean, I think we can kind of plagiarize a bit of the presentation we got. Because like their first slide was where they presented or where they received the information from. And we have to start there so that way our information is credible. So I'd say we just like take that as the introduction, share like a brief history of the previous reports and why we started doing them. And then as a group now we should identify like 3 focal areas that we think are the most impactful and spend like 2 minutes each on that and then close in. How do y'all feel about that?
I do agree with Alana's structure there. I also think, too, in talking about kind of like previous is to, identify, trends or, change over time, where that's relevant. I would also implore doing a, like a slideshow type presentation. I know last year the presentation was just oral. I'm reading it. I think if we can explore doing, like a slideshow presentation with some charts, might get more council engagement. Maybe might have more questions for us versus just trying to absorb that information verbally. So.
Yes, I think just for folks who weren't here, which is half the room, from last time, there was a very last minute change in presenter last time, which led to some, literally like minutes before the presenter didn't show up, and that's okay.
Yeah, we drew straws and
so yeah, I was in New York, and so I'm watching from afar and more.
Gretchen, Lisa, and I would drew straws.
But Gretchen and I kind of spoke privately, but we'll talk to the commission. But I would love to give the presentation as chair of this committee, and I will be available and present that day. Barring anything totally exceptional, but so that hopefully that won't happen again. But to your point, Robert, a more kind of prepared presentation outside.
Not just prepared, but if we could have some slides, I think just provide that visual. It might be that'd be helpful, and I'd be happy
probably
to
just need
help
like
with
6 slides.
Yeah.
One
maybe short.
from West.
Yeah, and we should also share the slides before the meeting with the council, and if we have a summary of the report or if we make a digest of it, we should also share that ahead of time so that so that way people hopefully will be prepared.
To add on that, that's correct. I traditionally, when we have something on the council agenda, by like July 8th in this case, I would have submitted a document that starts to go into the city's process for the written material that accompanies the report. I can hold off until July 11th, respecting that the commission will talk July 10th. And so I'll seek forgiveness on being a few days late on that. It'll still be in time because the actual publishing of the agenda doesn't happen until July 17th. It's just that we need the time to go through all the necessary processes. But you're right, so then July 17th, any material, slideshow, written piece that we can include will be in there for the city council and any member of the public that wants to view it too. Yeah.
And that's good timing for me because I'm being out of the Dodge on the 12th, and so for a very long weekend.
Oh, good for
away,
you.
So I know.
Good.
But that's good timing then.
Yeah, that is good timing.
So a couple things I also wanted to think about highlighting would be this innovation that we had last year, we continued this year, which is talking about where people are reporting, experiencing, and witnessing discrimination. I think that's kind of an important thing to highlight when we're doing this eagle eyes view of the data. Similarly, where people are finding belonging in community building spaces. We heard the library as a common theme and during the presentation. I'd like to be able to kind of preliminarily, when we have the data available, to really, and there may be some back and forth with the professor in terms of the specifics of this, but I really like seeing intersections of data around different identities and stuff. And kind of, it was hard to unpack that at the presentation. It wasn't the time for that, but I hope to have by our council presentation some data around bisecting identities and be able to communicate a message to council. In addition to that, I'd love to highlight, we do over quota, I would love to highlight the experiences of our unhoused neighbors and community members to kind of, because that's a big part of what we do too, and I think an important part of what council should be hearing. But those are some reactions to that, open to that, but those are some things I'd like to highlight as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of those topics. I think that that sounded like 4 topics, and that might be a little hard to do in 10 minutes. So we might want to combine the houselessness population data with the other demographic data,
Sure.
and make that just like a really robust slide full of graphics.
Well, and we're not limited to, we're limited to 10 minutes. And so, in that vein, we can prepare more slides that go into the packet, or, more data that we present, in council's packet, and then just limit everything what's presented and everything at the meeting.
Sure enough, yeah. And we're saying limited, I think
Yeah.
it's double the time we had last year.
Yeah.
So I'm taking that as a win.
And, there's not to say too, that, going back to last month's discussion thing about, possibly revisiting this early, in the calendar year and everything, when the new council's seated, to present, further information, so. And I am going back to last month's, discussion, we did kind of talk about this kind of just being, like an overview, kind of, like a teaser of, hey, this is what we've learned, but stay tuned, because we're gonna get nitty gritty.
Yeah, we felt awkward giving
Yeah.
presentations when so much of council's going to be
Yeah.
changing in January, being seated in January, and including a new mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, any other major reactions or thoughts, or things you feel are important to bring up at the commission meeting when we do kind of talk about this in detail?
I'm curious if anybody here would enjoy or desire to build the slides, or if you'd like that to be a staff.
I could help build the slides based off of, the stuff that we talk about. I can put some together and can be happy to.
It'll be a quick turnaround, sounds like. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Robert.
I'll block off time on my calendar to, on the 11th, to fill out the slide deck, so then we can, get it over to.
And Canva has, you can share with other accounts.
Yeah, Canva, yeah, so we can, so I can share it live with some people and everything, and then we can do some, live edits, and we'll make it happen, and then we'll have it ready for Gretchen to be able to get submitted when she needs to.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
In the meantime, I'll certainly make sure you may already have what Western's already provided us, but I can get that to you if
If you want to.
you don't. Yeah, of course, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that, because if I did it, my computer would explode. So something horrible would happen. All of Canva would shut down and the world would.
And my mind aligns a lot with Kelsey's, and I enjoy doing stuff in Canva and making things look pretty, I guess, so.
And I enjoy things having been done in Canva.
Look at us, yes.
Really.
Hey, we're working, yeah.
All right. Anything else? It'll be a quick meeting. You came down here just for. Yeah, so hearing none, I think that'll help scaffold a conversation for July. Dashboard, next steps. I saw the communique trying to find a way. I have not doodled it. Is that what it's called?
That is what's.
I have not done that yet, but I will do it. And what I'm referring to, of course, is finding a time for the three of us plus Dan, who is our ArcGIS manager at the city, to find time to meet to kind of take this data visualization project into a more, to plan it and to have kind of more actual steps around it. Now that we've met with him once, kind of gotten feedback, gotten buy-in from city staff, talked about it as a committee and actually the commission. We feel like we have some direction, and we're just looking forward to see what capacity and direction staff has at this time. Fair, or anything to add?
Depending on the time, would I be able to join that meeting?
Sure. You're welcome to join as well.
Yeah, well, I don't know, am I?
Celine if I may speak for you.
Yeah.
Indicated interest in both this committee as well as the data visualization committee when it's activated. I
Sure.
explained that we don't have that one, that's separate.
It'll be born out of this.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, the idea is to have some folks meet with our GIS person, and everyone's welcome at that. So if both of you are interested in joining the rest of us,
Okay.
nothing wrong with
Okay.
that, of course.
And to that end, I know Lisa expressed interest in the work.
She did, so
So-
heck, we could invite her as well.
Gosh,
To, why not, I mean, there'd be nothing wrong, I will do that, so I will send, I've got a doodle
Yeah.
scheduling poll that I've sent to a couple of us that I'll add Celine, Ilana and Lisa to as well.
Yeah.
Perfect,
Can you send that out to them? Do you mind resending it to me?
I would be happy to,
Thank you
no
so much.
problem.
And hey, me too, Gretchen.
Okay, will
Okay.
do.
So, okay, so now that we're all gonna be there, whenever that day may be, things that we want to ensure are brought up. So during that conversation, so to recap, we've already met with Dan once and we talked about the importance of kind of data justice, protecting people's narratives and stories and kind of obviously identifying information. But we're also at the same time really interested in diversifying kind of the data streams as much as possible, working with DOJ at the state level, SPD, local nonprofits possibly, and of course our own data that we get as a commission, namely as in the form of our monthly our regular reports that we get from staff, from SPD, as well, of course, as the data we get historically now for 5 years from our community belonging survey. To try to paint this picture of here's what we're hearing, here's what we're doing about it. As I said previously, this is your government at work sort of thing, and being able to constructively capture the landscape of belonging and discrimination, human rights in the city in the spirit of communicating again what we're doing and having people be better informed and get people more involved in the work of the commission and the work kind of generally that's going around in Salem. So that's the backdrop of that. Anything else or anything of importance that you would all like to see going into the conversation?
This is so hard because both of my degrees focus in ArcGIS, and I know how like limitlessly powerful it is. And there's so many things we can do.
Yeah.
I need more time to process this information. But I'm just very, very excited by this idea and opportunity.
Well, we look forward to hearing your
Yeah.
advice and expertise.
Sure.
My degrees are the opposite of whatever ArcGIS. Whatever the opposite of ArcGIS is, that's what I majored in college.
I haven't used it since I graduated. This will be great.
I do have a degree in biology, but anyways, and people who are really excited about it, for example, our comms, people like Elizabeth and I just had a private conversation when I was supposed to be in our last meeting, about another source of data that she would be interested in kind of presenting to us. So people are, interested in kind of contributing to this as much as possible. And we have the benefit or the added benefit of not being the only entity in city government that's interested in doing this sort of data visualization. I think Parks is, I'm forgetting now who else Dan mentioned. So the time is right for these sorts of conversations.
Imagine the HST.
Did we do something with DEQ on environmental injustices around like cities? And our focus would be on Salem, but.
So DEQ is a good idea. That actually reminds me of, to be specific about what Elizabeth was mentioning. She was mentioning the
Environmental justice.
EJ data at EPA, environmental justice data at
Mhm.
the Environmental Protection Agency, for as long as it exists. Anyways, we'll see what happens in January, but or November, I guess. But stuff like that, I think is that too long?
No, I just caught it. I was-
So a great point. So DEQ would be, I think to your point, the possibilities are kind of endless. Again, as this transitions to its own work and it's kind of stood up as an activity, that's when the data governance committee comes in. And we'll meet regularly, but not often, maybe quarterly, to kind of just make sure things are going well and we can change and think of our policy internally or otherwise, kind of as that goes. But anything else? I love that. DEQ, any other things that you're interested in pitching to Dan?
So I think there's a lot of things that we can pitch to Dan and his team, but I think it's important that we also narrow it down because we could we could go in there and everything, and you wanna shoot for the moon and everything, and grab data and everything from all over, right? But then it's just gonna, it's just gonna stretch capacity, and then we're not going to really drill down on, the handful of things that, we wanted. And so I think I think it's great that we want to collect all the different data and everything. We want to have so many different data streams going into it, but I think we also need to make sure that we're prioritizing what data we want to see first, and then as time allows, or that's in there, what else we want to integrate, so we don't walk away from those meetings thinking that we were going to have a focus on some of the Human Rights Commission data, and then find out that CSF and everything prioritized putting DEQ data in there, because then, well, it wasn't really what we initially wanted.
Sure.
In the first place. So
Do we already have
go ahead.
Do we already have a contract with like the scope of work outlined in it that we could review before the meeting, or is this to establish the contract and scope of work?
That's interesting. I'll try not to get lost in the vernacular you just used. I think the answer is no. Dan produced kind of a business case, I think was the language he used. Not quite a scope of work in the way that I think you're intending it and that I know it to mean, but a business kind of case to justify his involvement moving forward, and kind of the role that the department or his staff and himself can play. So I guess to answer your question, we're getting there for scope of work and kind of finding out the details. You think that's fair, Josh?
I agree, and I think that's probably where the next meeting could go, is to
Yeah.
begin to build that out.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we should establish priorities prior to the meeting that we think would be reasonable.
I think that would be best, yes.
And we may, I wonder if I have it in notes, because the group did talk about a couple of those concepts that Joaquin, you kind of summarized a bit. Let me find what I have in writing from the past to see if that'll help support that conversation as well. I don't disagree. I'm just explaining we might have a little bit of start on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, we
felt you
have
wanted to add something.
narrow the focus, because like community belonging survey, I think they used RedCap, I believe, for that. So community partners aren't gonna have access to RedCap. They're probably using like other software versus what DEQ was using. So you have like all these different programs.
Technical challenge
Yeah.
with measuring everything, yeah. Yeah, I think, and not just that, but, I have a feeling, even with the limited number of things, like what we get every month, the data we get, data as it may, though it may be, finding a way to really visualize that is gonna be enough of a uphill climb for us before we even start introducing other, to your point, kind of, kind of data. I'm not being clear, but it'll be hard, I think, it will take thought and time to do justice to representing the data that we want to represent, limited as it is. And I have a hand. You don't need to raise your hand. You can interrupt me. I won't stop talking otherwise.
Okay, I do feel bad interrupting people. But so with ArcGIS, like you can implement any data stream you want. So like, yes, having different data streams will make it slightly more complicated. It doesn't make it any less accessible to anyone who would be accessing it once we've created the layer. So we could have our data, DEQ data, and like even like DOJ data all in the same map. And that would still be accessible to anyone with a link to that map.
You would just turn the layers on and off.
Mm-hmm.
You like toggle through,
Yeah.
Yeah, I also know that a piece of this conversation though too was creating just a dashboard and everything with just general stats and numbers and everything, not solely making it map based, because there's a lot of the data we're not going to want to map, because we didn't want to essentially put any one ward on Front Street in terms of, like, hey, like there's like a lot of bias happening in, this section of Salem versus another. And I know that's been conversations that we've had, and that we don't want to give the visualization or the interpretation that, one area is worse than another. We want to present anything collectively that, hey, these are the numbers that are presented. But yes, to Joaquin's point that they were talking about, yeah, I think, you know, doing justice to the limited data that we have available that we want to put in there, seeing how that looks, seeing how that integrates, and then, you know, then adding to it.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the better approach. And then, you know, just making sure that, you know, the data and everything that we're adding and everything, you know, and prioritizing is aligning with the mission of the Human Rights Commission.
Yeah, I have a bias towards incrementalism in this case, just getting maybe one thing right at a time. Especially because, like, for example, would love to have DOJ data, and DOJ is taking them their sweet time and getting us the things we've already requested. You know, bless them, but you know, they're swamped. So there might be challenges even practically there with them. So.
Did you want to map their data or?
Well, so Greg can speak to this better than I can, but historically, we would get data that they now get through their bias hotline at the city. And so we're trying to get that information as it relates to the city, but they only do county. That makes sense. So Salem, so if you look at Marion, yeah, it's mostly Salem, but it's also a lot of Woodburn, and then West Salem is Polk, but also kind of down, and so Independence, whatever it may be. So we've made requests to, like, well, can you give us like city, like, you know, UGB something, you know, something, you know, like really getting us Salem, and they're like, yeah. And that was like in November, October, September.
Do you know who your contact is?
I don't, because it's a request we make through SPD, and SPD is working on it on our behalf.
Okay.
So kind of an intergovernmental relationship there that I'm not privy to, but I trust that that's happening. But you know, we used to get that data. Christian can give a more detailed history of that. We no longer get it, and we would like to have it for this, among other things, to make more sound decisions, but also kind of just have a better understanding of what's going on.
So that would probably be better on like a dashboard versus
Exactly
mapping.
Yeah. A map could look like, for example, next Wednesday we're going out to the community kind of in the early evening. A map would be, for example, I would love to see a map where the commission's been, you know, and we can map where we've been, who we're engaging, what we're hearing, maybe even like you toggle over downtown. We met with a dozen businesses, and here's some things we're hearing. It's a little bubble blurb. I'm being really unimaginative right now, but you know what I'm saying? It says we heard this, and I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot that we can do with it. I mean, you know, getting down there. I mean, the city's done this on our RGIS platforms before too. Is, you know, we can also, those locations and everything that we gather from, you know, the religious organizations and everything that are supportive of the LGBTQIA community, as well as the information in terms of healthcare that the LGBT QIA, you know, subcommittee is looking at. You know, we can eventually get down the road of mapping those. The possibilities are endless. I think it's just really a matter of aligning. I wouldn't say aligning, I guess just mapping out kind of where we go from that initial conversation.
Yeah, and sorry, I should have not just used maps in my description. That's just what I used it the most often for. When I say maps, I do mean all functions of ArcGIS work this way. But yeah, I think that tying this back into the last committee, we could even like do a map of like LGBTQ friendly healthcare providers, or like safe spaces for BIPOC communities. Like there's can we like check in via email to develop this list of priorities further?
I'm afraid that we do have some boundaries there, so I'm glad that you're asking. What's important is that anything that deliberates towards a decision be done so in a way that's open to the public and the community. So we try not to work on things outside of that public process. That being said, there's nothing wrong. Like if everybody wanted to send thoughts to me, I could compile it and then send it out to you for your look at the next meeting, for example. You know, things like that we can do.
Okay. I mean, I think that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. And I'd be delighted to compile everybody's ideas and also find the material that we've written about this so far and kind of put it together for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great, thank you.
Great, yep.
And, you know, talking about listing places and stuff, outside of the list that the city already has, you know, evolving a map, creating a map. I like that because, I mean, I would be less in favor of like a deficit map, you know, places where things are discriminatory or bad.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong in my mind, at least on the surface, of kind of positive peer pressure. Here's a map of places we know are really great and welcoming spaces. And maybe, you know, kind of as a backhanded, why are we on that list? You know, what's going on there? You know, but I think I love that. I love that idea as opposed to here are places that really struggle.
If you get really micro specific, we will run into some barriers. A while back, the commission worked up a concept of essentially a safe space assessment, verification, application process. And we went down the road of like, here would be a checklist that people, and we could go out and affirm and kind of verify. And then we had a thought about if there would be complaints, how we do it. And I think long story short, it felt outside our scope and really at risk of some negative impacts for organizations. Like if we weren't able to fully vet the concepts, but then someone did experience hate at the location that we had thought was safe, or conversely, someone felt they had negative impacts to their business or nonprofit organization because they weren't on the list, because we couldn't get to them, and they're like, and then people are saying, oh, you're not on the list, so we're not going to come and see you. It was just fraught with a lot of risk there, and so the city ended up feeling that was outside of our capacity. So if you meant to get very micro, we'd have some boundaries there. Like here are some supportive, you know, what you can do like with healthcare organizations is if healthcare organizations are listing, we can put out lists of here's where we know have listed healthcare affirming. There's kind of a difference between here's what that is versus this is a safe space. There's kind of a level of intensity or like we aren't doing the blessing. It's just, this is where we know that service exists.
No, thank you.
If you will.
I didn't mean to suggest that.
Okay,
I meant to represent visually what we're talking about doing in the document form in our last meeting, for example. Or is that also?
No, that works. I think that works. Yeah, great. And yeah, sorry if I
So for the
jumped
last
off, but
meeting,
just to double
just
check.
for context, the last meeting, there's a list that the city curates, to Christian's point, for example, on healthcare settings that are, let's say, queer friendly.
Yeah.
Okay, and they affirm this as part of their values and stuff. And so it was a list that we compiled, and I think it's live online.
Well, you might be mixing up two things. What we have
Probably.
right now is a list of organizations or groups or resources for LGBTQIA plus communities. The idea that emerged was, oh, let's have healthcare organizations that provide gender affirming healthcare, which is a new type of service, and we're going to work on
We don't have
collecting
that.
that. We don't have that yet.
But we have an analog of that for the support services, and so something like that visually, I think is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Just for context.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, since I'm compiling that list, all I would have to do is put in a spreadsheet the address and the name and then whatever notes we wanted to add, and that could become a layer. So like it would be super easy to do.
I think that's the sort of thing we would love to have done now so that we can use that as conversations kind of mature. But Robert?
I just wanted to go back to, as we talk about this, this next meeting with Dan, in terms of the city staff. If you wouldn't mind extending an invitation to either Deputy Chief Aguilar or Acting Lieutenant Dowd, to see if they wouldn't mind attending that meeting. I just know anything that I think a lot of Salem police departments, that and everything, as relates to kind of like their HST, would, play into some of, the other homeless data and everything we want to put in there. And so I think just having them, if they're interested in attending those conversations, rather, talking about some of the data we might want to see, but then finding out on the back end that it's not possible or they're not interested. I would like to just extend the invitation.
I think that's really smart, and also just because of the bias crime data
Yeah.
that we're also interested in engaging with on this, I'd
Yeah.
like to have them involved
Yeah.
too. It's a great idea.
Because I think Robert Robert, uniform Robert,
Yeah.
without a doubt, mentioned something, concerns around
Mhm.
protecting data after one of our meetings, I think
Yeah.
now a couple months ago. So maybe the lieutenant, but him and whomever is in charge of the data too.
Right.
I would love to
Yeah.
have, does it,
They typically contract out for data,
oh, okay,
like large data projects.
really?
Well, this isn't really a large data project. This is more of a local data project, because it's just the monthly reports moving on bias crimes and bias incidences, which I imagine is probably maintained in-house. But again, I think representatives of Salem PD would be able to better speak to
Yeah.
what data they have available.
I'm choosing to frame it as this isn't much different from what you already do for
Yeah.
us. That's how,
Yeah.
that's how I'm choosing
Yeah.
to view it.
Yeah, so they're
I'll
not
see if they-
interpreting it as, extra work. It's hey, it's already there. We just want you to work with Dan's GIS team to put it into a different format.
And whatever that workflow looks like is
Yeah.
kind of TBD, but yeah. So
Yeah, I think
What format are they putting it into now?
gives it to us on.
They don't, it's just verbal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have some he reads or remembers or whatever and.
Yeah, but-
The lieutenant is also relatively new to his role with us and his role generally, actually. So that was fruitful. Anything else that's top of mind? I know that to Alana's point here, we'll have this kind of composite weird, disjointed conversation by way of Gretchen in the weeks ahead, compiling our thoughts, but anything else to share now apropos of the dashboard?
Okay.
What?
Oh, I said Bueller.
Bueller. He died recently, the teacher, the economist. I'm so sorry, I don't know why I'm wasting time talking about that. Not that he's smart, I'm sure he's a person. Anyway. Okay, engagement plan of action. Gretch was kind enough to kind of recirculate these talking points that we have already sort of gone over to ground ourselves. As a reminder, an open invitation that we are going out to the community on Wednesday in our first of hopefully many rounds of public engagement in person with our neighbors. We're going to start downtown and we're going to introduce ourselves and learn from folks to see what sort of things they're hearing around town, things that are important to them, and just then send them some of our information so that they can have it, where people are. So that's on Wednesday. Would you be so kind as to remind me what time on Wednesday? I think we can.
The calendar invite was 5.
5.
5.
Yes.
Folks would meet here at 5. We would make sure everybody has materials, split into pairs, kind of agree who's going where, decide if you want to meet back to debrief versus not, and then head out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I might have volunteered for that. And I will have to, if I did, actually say that I can't because it's my birthday the day before and my friends made plans for me that I didn't know
Oh.
about.
Oh, happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
No problem.
That's exciting. You don't want to party with us?
I mean, if they didn't already have plans, I'd say that's a great party.
Do they want to move their plans to downtown?
Yeah, someone floated getting drinks or something afterwards. Anyway, enjoy that. We'll miss you though. So I guess more of a reminder, and if anybody has any last minute comments around these sort of talking points, it's who we are, what we're here to talk about, what's our mission, what kind of services we provide. You can help by, you can keep in touch by sort of thing. I think that's examples of accomplishments if requested, or we can volunteer accomplishments. There's nothing wrong with that. I really appreciate you and who helped work on
Yep,
that.
she
So
did.
thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Hearing no comments about that. Awareness communications.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any suggestions for the next communication to our listserv. For those of you who are newer, we have an email group of people, a group of people who've signed up to get updates from the commission. And in addition to our agendas, we like to periodically just write something or include something. Ilana, this is where you had mentioned being interested in writing a newsletter, for example, and this would be the kind of audience that we could be sure to share it with. So yeah, go ahead, Robert.
I just have a question in terms of this awareness communications and the listserv that people can sign on to. Are we gonna have material available that we can hand out for people that we engage with, that want to sign up?
Yes.
Be added to
I thought I'd include a
Sure.
sign-up sheet
Yeah.
to have for everybody, so you can capture people's email addresses.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Will do, yeah. But I don't know if there's any, I'm afraid I didn't think of one in
No,
advance to
that is
share,
totally
so,
fine.
and I can come up with one if there's not a suggestion here.
Are there any suggestions?
I mean, so when would it be going out? Because if it's going out after this community engagement opportunity, I would suggest doing a recap of that. And then also moving forward, I would suggest doing a highlight of like businesses in Salem who are doing something to foster inclusivity. So that way, one, like community partners will be more engaged with us because they'll want to be featured. And then also we can just help people, I don't know, feel confident going out.
Yes.
But yeah, I would just do a recap of what the engagement is like, and then what we like, make it like a value statement of like what we hope to do in the future, also building off of that event.
Group picture downtown.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
What?
So I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like kind of recapping what we've done. I think it's also a good way, and I think to show that, hey, you know, the Human Rights Commission isn't a group of people that sit on Zoom around a table, and know that we're, you know, hey, we're putting feet to pavement in Salem to, you know, make a difference and educate the community. So
I like it. Great.
We also sit
Yeah.
down on Zoom a lot too, though.
we do, but we don't just do that. Every once in a while.
We do. Go out. Saturday went very well, by the way.
Good.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you for that generative conversation. Committee goals and objectives. We have a lot
I
there.
feel like we already,
Let's-
yeah, I'm
yeah.
gonna say, I think we have a lot of objectives and goals that we wanna accomplish. I think that if we add more to it, then we'll get nothing done.
Yeah, I'm always interested in having people's, you know, whimsies and interests and passions, but yeah, to your point, Robert, we have a lot going on. So I'm gonna take the executive action of sunsetting that conversation for now. Member remarks or announcements?
For those of you who are new, this isn't kind of an open time in case there's anything anyone wanted to share, update, comment on.
Including members to be.
I just had a question I wanted to run by the comms team. So I know that we are not allowed to like have our own individual Instagram, but could we do like a once a month Instagram takeover where like we post one thing to the city account? And maybe
me
if we
check.
have someone who isn't camera shy, they could do like a little video. I don't know.
I love it. Let me ask. I'd be happy to ask.
Does the
Thank
city have
you.
an Instagram?
Yes.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
a great Instagram. You should follow it.
I don't
And
have
the
Instagram.
ODOT Instagram is immaculate.
Wow.
I'm not a big social media person.
Yeah, I don't have any social media.
My job description at work, and it's like a one thing that I'm like begrudgingly do every time I'm tasked with it.
Well, you'll be first up. That's a good idea. I would love to hear
For the
what,
video.
for the video, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to build your slideshow.
Oh, okay.
In lieu of not being
What if we had like
tasked
a
with.
Canva
What
AI
if we,
video?
yeah, what,
I think
yeah, what if,
Ilana's
yeah,
interested in.
Oh.
yeah.
I-
I think
that's
it's
what I
already
was
signed
Would
up,
you like
yeah.
to be the face of the HRC?
I would love to make the content, not the face, if possible. I can be,
So
but I
content and
like to be the
feature.
director.
She wants to be on like in the behind the scenes.
Oh, I
Uh-huh.
love that. Great, who? Thank you for volunteering.
You're the front.
Actually, well, not to embarrass Gretchen, but there are a couple of videos of Gretchen on the Salem YouTube, City
That's
Salem's YouTube page. So Gretchen is seasoned.
Oh,
But I'm the employee. It's much better when our volunteers are.
yeah.
So I know.
Much.
I would
We
love
need to
to, but
honor-
a staff
We
really
really
should
wanna
put
honor
a
and
point.
I
support
mean, the
our
chair of the
volunteers.
commission could be a good choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get Kamadi out
We
there.
can
The chair, the
open
vice
this
chair,
up.
the committee chairs.
Oh, this committee chair is not, yeah. I'm not camera shy, but I'm not camera ready either.
Oh,
So that's the problem.
That's a cute way to
If we're looking to use this as like a way of, like featuring, like human rights issues and everything, if that's how we're looking and exploring this, like this takeover. Someone who is very well spoken is Linnell Wilcox, and I think she's always got some really great words to say. So we're looking at featuring volunteers or people that are doing, she's not necessarily a member of the Human Rights Commission, but she does attend a lot of our meetings, and she is one of our largest non-member supporters. So if we're looking to, like feature or have somebody included, I would extend an invite to her.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, I think that we could do for the foreseeable future, just like once a month, share something from the Belong In report. So like focus on like, I don't know, where people felt the safest for 1 week. Maybe mention the library and securing funding for it. I don't know. And then
Yeah, I do kind of like
Yeah.
that if we just did it like once a month to highlight one thing on the
Yeah.
city social media channels that pertain to the Human Rights Commission. It's a good way to.
We typically do like
Sure.
heritage months, but that's a
Yeah.
lot more
This is better.
personal and practical and
Yeah.
local. I like that.
Yeah, and we can also do interviews with volunteers, highlight community members who are like creating the like people who are going above and beyond to create a sense of belonging. There's so many things we can do with it that like will hopefully brighten people's day when they
There's
see it
so
on
much.
social media.
Some of our
Oh.
goals or objectives, but
This is part of our outreach. so
Yeah, no,
this is part of
I'm just joking. I actually love that. I love the idea of it. I don't love the idea of being the one that's directing or coordinating this. So, if you're all for it, I mean, I'm happy to, support behind the scenes and help, throw some ideas your direction. I definitely kind of like where this is going. I just unfortunately am not the person to execute. So,
You know what else we could do?
and another thing.
No.
And another.
Well, just part of just this promoting this, we should inaugurate some kind of like human rights award every year. So the city does all the volunteer awards and stuff.
We do.
And we could stick around and say, not to like, privilege people,
Yeah.
but just to highlight, for example, Linnell Wilcox, a great inaugural winner of I don't know, whatever.
Well, I think the city did last year, award the first Lisa Linney Award,
We
which
did.
is for somebody I think that goes above and beyond to advocate for and assist the unsheltered
Yeah.
population in Salem. And Lindsay Bigelow with the Kindness Closet was the first recipient.
Yeah.
Very, very well deserved award. But there's more to human rights though. There's more key than just the unsheltered, and so like we could. I mean, could explore like hey as part of like a volunteer part of that like awards thing just the Human Rights Award.
Yeah, no one's won the Robert Marshall Medal of Human Rights. So.
I would need to ask, I can actually check quickly. We're actually about to publish the list of the categories and start opening nominations. And so this might be something, if I can,
Sneak it in there.
I can sure try.
Yeah.
But if not, it might be a more formal proposal for next year.
Don't they have to? And I'm not sure because I know that the Lisa Linney Award and everything was voted on by council. So
It was, yeah, so what I'm meaning is just that we're about to publish the list of the award categories and invite
Yeah.
nominations, and then you're right, Lindsay was one of the people nominated. And then we close nominations and we bring all of the nominees to the Boards and Commissions Appointments Committee, who selects winners,
yes,
who we then honor.
but if we're introducing a new awards
Right.
category, are we
Right.
able to are we gonna
See,
need a
that's-
counselor to sponsor
Traditionally,
that?
so that's why
Yeah.
I'm going, oh, I don't know about the
Yeah.
timing.
We might
Because
not
that's
make
how
it
it
this
happened,
time,
right.
we might make it this time
Right.
around, but we likely could get a counselor to put that on the floor for us.
For a future
for
year,
next year.
yeah,
And
that's
that way
correct.
it's not on our objectives so soon.
Yeah,
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 that would be
we
the
could discuss
proper way
it,
to do
yeah.
it.
I say we put that, like we put a pin in it, and then it kind of allows us to, like as we move forward, create the description of what, the
Yeah.
award is, who are we looking for to be nominated for it?
Yeah.
And then we can find we can engage with our council.
Yeah.
Our counselor or counselors to see if they would, support and be willing to put on the floor.
I appreciate that, that would really be the.
But look how
proper
generative
process.
Ilana's energy is,
Yeah.
and we're talking about
I
know.
awards and.
Now we're,
But in the
yeah,
meantime,
yeah.
take a look at the existing
Yeah,
categories
and then
those
see
can
where
make
we could view,
nominations
yeah.
that intersect with human rights,
Yeah.
you know.
We can
there's-
nominate people, right?
Of course, yes,
Okay.
as individuals
Can we
or
nominate
as a
staff?
commission. No,
It's all.
it's all it's volunteer.
See,
This is also something we should send to the listserv when it does go out, is to like identify the ones we think are applicable to human rights, or
Oh, good
and-
idea,
be like, make sure to submit your nominations.
good idea,
Yeah, we could advertise that the
Yeah.
nominations are open for the Lisa Lane Award.
it's a good idea.
Fun, everyone likes awards.
It was a really fun event.
It is a
I
fun
attended
event.
last year. I enjoyed being there. Well, it was really good to see a lot of really great people honored.
Quick question, how
Yeah.
many people about are on the listserv, if you know?
I wanna say 300 off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Of course, yeah.
Any other member remarks or announcements? I will remark here what I remarked offhandedly just now to Gretchen, which is that we had an event in West Salem. It was a kind of a resource fair. And we met a lot of folks from the community and kind of talked to them about the city, but in particular the Human Rights Commission, and it was well attended. Hope Strayer, Commissioner Strayer was there, as was Vice Chair Murray, Kelsey Murray, and we were in a lovely sunny Saturday. They went well. So that's good.
I just have a question that I thought of when you were talking about that. Do we report back on, like the numbers of engagements or, estimated engagements that we have at each of these? Because I think that'd be a good data point, even if it's not spot on, but if we say, oh, hey, we attended this event on Saturday and, we interacted with approximately X amount of people.
Yeah.
And then, that would be a good number to report on our community engagement work.
Great idea.
One metric of that would be who sign up for the email
Yeah.
list, though so
But
few
not-
do.
Yeah, but not everybody is, but
Yeah.
like, even if we just, tally and everything, like, oh, yeah, we shook hands
A
or said
clicker.
hello to, like this person, just a clicker, so we can report on, oh, hey, like, this many people visited our table, or,
Yeah.
we said hi to, X amount of people, it's showing that, hey, we're out there engaging. And, it allows us to kind of see, too, and everything, if, like, we start getting slammed with events, right, in the future and everything, and, we have conflicting events, which events do we, typically see the most engagement with?
Mhm.
And then so we can, prioritize our time based off of, or versus if we have one event where we're gonna engage with 100 people, but then this other event that we're invited to, and I think in the years past, we've only engaged with 5.
Yeah.
Well, we know where to send.
I think that's a great idea. And a lot of like websites on your phone, you can just like Google like free counter, and then you can just have it on your phone and be clicking while you're interacting with people. One way to make it accessible.
Download an app on your
Another app.
smartphone.
Quick reminder,
Yeah.
the next tabling opportunity is this weekend at World Beat.
Yep.
We have the table Saturday and Sunday. I'll be there from 2 to 6 on Sunday, for example. I think you're planning on coming down on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Great.
You
Maybe
tell-
I'm
you tell
mistaken.
me. I did sign up for one of these.
You can sign up. I have you down for Saturday, undetermined
Okay,
time,
great.
but you come when
Will
you
I
want.
go alone on Saturday?
No, we have somebody from the city there the whole time.
No one else from the HRC.
No one else from the HRC has signed up this year. So,
Okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
but everyone's welcome.
Great city employees.
Yes. We had fun last time.
We did, yeah.
I'll try not to conscript anybody who's a passerby into doing some business. Okay. Well, if there are no other member remarks or announcements, then that brings us to the close of our conversation, and I thank you all for your time and your engagement, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.